Hey everybody, Jason here with Murideo, and today I have a very special guest. We're going to be talking about a tool that I'm very excited about. When I started calibrating many years ago, we had some really cool tools to work with, and sometime around 2014, even before I started working for Murideo, we started working with the first generation of the 6G pattern generator, and at the time it was a very, very exciting tool. And since then, yeah, of course, there's been some upgrades and things, but as soon as I saw this tool about a year, maybe 2 years ago, I fell in love with it. So this has been my favorite testing tool that I've come across in the past couple of years. We're going to talk about that today with Ariel Marcus from MSol. Ariel, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jason? Thank you
I'm
for
good.
having me here.
Yes, very excited to talk to you today. We've had this unit now for like I said, about 2 years. I remember seeing a prototype at the HDBaseT World Convention in San Diego, maybe, gosh, 3 or 4 years ago. And at the time, it was like, wow, this thing is awesome. And then you guys finally launched it, and everything's been great. The main reason I wanted to meet with you today, Ariel, is because some time ago, a few months maybe at the most, but the unit got a major firmware update, and it changed the user interface and added a few new features and some things that you guys had been working on for a while. So I just wanted to meet with you today to go over some of the new features and the new interface. For those of you who are listening or watching live, we do have a question box. So as we're going through the presentation here, don't be shy. Feel free to type those questions in, and maybe we'll have a few minutes towards the end in case you have any last minute questions. So, Ariel, before we get too deep into this, for those who already have an MSTest Pro, do you have some recommendations on where they can get this firmware update? And loading it's very easy, but where should they get it from?
They should get it from the MSolution website on www.m for the number 4sol.com. On the product upgrades, they can easily approach it, fill in some information, and get a link for the upgrade. So it's backward compatible. Very important to say, means that all the different platforms that already out there for different users, they
Hmm.
can approach and upgrade their system to work with this new firmware, with this
That's
new interface.
That's great. And I've updated the firmware on these several times, and it's super easy to do. So thank you guys so much for making the firmware update easy. All you need is a thumb drive. You download the file to the thumb drive. The thumb drive goes into one of the USB ports on the top of the MSTest Pro. Go into a menu, click update, and it's automated from there. Very easy. Thank you guys for making it so so easy to do the firmware.
The main idea behind the tester is to provide installers and integrator a very easy way to do everything, not just upgrading the unit, but also doing the testing.
Good. And I can totally speak to that. I've used this unit several times on site, helping other integrators and things. And it's always funny because we take the tool out, plug in a few things, go into a menu, just look at some basic things, and we can tell what's going on usually like within a minute. Sometimes it's very convenient and easy tool to use. Before we get too deep, Ariel, let's maybe take a minute and tell everybody about your company and maybe your background a little bit, and then we'll get into it.
MSolution was actually founded in 2016, 5 years company. Both me and my partner Eliran Toren, we came from Valence, who actually invented the HDBaseT.
Hmm.
We've been there for about 7 years from the beginning of the HDBaseT. I was doing the training, Eliran was doing the marketing and sales of the chipset throughout the world. So actually, the background with HDBaseT is from the first days, from the first generation going to the second generation, and now the third generation. And that was the main. During the time that I was in Valence, I was the head of the customer support. I was
Hmm.
involved with all of the design for different customers that would like to integrate the HDBaseT chipset into their systems. And we were actually supporting them in doing that, in
Hmm.
understanding how to integrate it and how to use it. At that time, we actually seen that there are missing tools in order to to understand what is going on with the HDBaseT. What is the transmission line? What is going on the TMDS line? on the
Mm-hmm.
twisted pair of the category cables, and how to analyze failures, because okay, failures happens.
Sure.
You're routing cables, you're seeing video drops. And
Mm-hmm.
on the HDBaseT, it was very difficult because there are no tools on the market that
Right.
tells you HDBaseT, like what is going on. We have a lot of network tools, and that's fine. But network tools are actually talking about a symmetric link. The HDBaseT is an asymmetric link, and therefore they have some coverage, but they cannot provide a high coverage on testing the infrastructure.
Sure.
The HDBaseT is stretching the line to achieve 8 gigabit on the twisted pairs,
Mm-hmm.
something that LAN is not doing. Where HDBaseT is using PAM16, the LAN is not doing that. So there are a lot of things that are running through the category cables, which are different from LAN. And
Sure.
we saw the opportunity, and we had the knowledge. So why not to take it to the next step? And then we
Yeah.
came up with a testing capability and the tester in order to support those installers and integrators during the installation time.
That's awesome, Ariel. So let's kind of get into it. I'm going to pass over the presenter, make you the presenter so you can share your screen. And one thing I want to really point out to people, as Ariel is showing his screen here, one of my favorite features of many about the MSTest Pro is you don't necessarily have to do everything on the front panel controls. You can use a web GUI, and we can look at some different things that way. What's really nice about what Ariel is going to show us today is what you're seeing on the screen right now. We are literally seeing in a live environment what you would see on the front panel of the touchscreen of the MSTest Pro. So we'll kind of start from scratch here on sort of navigate through the different menus, and we'll point out and talk about some of the new features and the user interface. I love the way it looks, by the way. You guys did a great job on making it look very, very modern and very slick. So Ariel, where would you like to start? What do you think would be a good place to start looking?
Okay, so first of all, what we're seeing, as you mentioned, is a live demo of the HDBaseT tester. This is the way that the touchscreen will look alike.
Mm-hmm.
Means when you power up the system with the HDBaseT module, we're seeing here spec 1. Maybe I'll go through the different changes that we implemented. Up until
Sure.
today, for example, the HDBaseT tester, the MSTest Pro, was acting as an access point. Now, due to the new features that we implemented, we had to change the concept. The MSTest Pro will not be anymore as an access point. It will act as a additional unit that can connect to any network which is available.
Good.
If we go to the settings, we see here Wi-Fi connection. The system is scanning the Wi-Fi network which are available, and then I immediately get the different Wi-Fi. I can access each one of them, and I can connect to the Wi-Fi network. The moment that I connect, I'll get an icon here saying, this is the network, and now I'm connecting. Why it is good? When you are in the field and you would like to send data from the
Mm-hmm.
tester, and this is something that we will touch in a minute, we can send email directly from the tester. Then you can connect the tester into your mobile device that has data access, and you can directly send certification reports
Mm-hmm.
or a DCR report or any report that is generated on the tester. You can share it with your headquarters, or you can share it with your customer as a certification and the guarantee for the installation that was done. So we modified it. We provide the ability to connect to any Wi-Fi network from
Mm-hmm.
within the tester in order to share data. Additional thing, we have the display calibration for the touchscreen. Now, up until today, we were not able to do that. Now you can
Mm-hmm.
calibrate the touchscreen, a very important thing that was missing.
And is that when you say calibrate the display, that's just making sure when you're pressing on the touchscreen, it's responding to the button you're pressing. Yes.
Exactly. You have
Good.
four corners marked with a cross. You need to touch the cross in the center. After touching all four, you need to reboot, the system will reboot automatically in order to apply those calibration information to the touch.
Good, very
So
nice.
very simple process. It's needed once, I don't know for how many times, but usually it will not be required, but you know, we need it.
Yeah.
Upload user logo. User logo is a very important part. Now you are getting this error because I don't have a USB attached to the device. You can upload and create the logo. You can upload the logo for the different certification reports so that you can make it personalized with your company logo. Means when you're creating those, you can provide, for example, an MSolution logo on it, and it will be an MSolution. Very important part when you're sharing the information.
Sure,
Access
sure.
post, the access point network name, this is actually the name of the tester. At the beginning, it was the access point name. Now it's only the name of the tester. Time, you can set up the time and adjust it to your requirement. General information, software version, hardware version. We're seeing here something interesting. This is a new part. The tester can connect to the cloud. This is a new feature that we will apply in the near months. And then the upgrade of the firmware can be done directly from the cloud.
Oh,
You're
that's
just,
nice.
it will tell you, listen, there is a download for a new upgrade with the information of the new upgrade. Just pressing the button, you will download the file, and then you will install it without the need of a USB connection or to do it with a web app on the PC also.
That's
So,
nice.
yeah. Additional features that will be there, extended warranty while connecting to the cloud or cloud support, but those features we will talk with on another session when we have the cloud already implemented, but you can see that the system is ready for it. Local IP. Local IP is important in this stage. I'll tell you why. Now that we're connecting the tester to the local Wi-Fi, if you would like to work using a laptop connected to the tester and you're connected to the same Wi-Fi network, you just need this IP address and immediately you are getting the information directly to the tester. So you will see a UI that's suitable for Chrome or Bing or any browser which is available, and you can see it on the large screen. Additional information that was missing and now we added is the storage. The tester is has a memory capabilities of 16 gig, 15 gig, and we show exactly how many is occupied with the different files and reports that are being generated on the tester. And that's important because we don't need a third-party program or software, or we don't need to download data from within the tester, but we are generating a PDF directly on the tester. This is why we can send it on an email directly from the tester, a PDF file with all the information. So it's important to understand the capacity of the memory and how much was actually used in order to free space. Two additional things: cloud synchronization. When it is on and you are connected to a Wi-Fi or to a LAN network, then automatically the files will be synchronized to the cloud. Now, when you're using an access point on your mobile device, for example, you don't want to use the data all the time, or you are limited on data or something like that, then you can switch this off and the files will not continue to synchronize by themselves automatically to the cloud. You will be able to go one by one and synchronize them if you want, but it will not happen automatically. Then there is additional thing. There is it's a buzzer on the tester that doing clicks when you are pressing the buttons. So you can switch it on off, depend if you'd like to hear those clicks or not. So you can switch it on. And that's mainly, In terms of settings, what we provide, again, updating the files. If you have a USB attached to the main unit, you will get a list of the files, upgrade the USB. Very simple, very straightforward. The main idea is not to complicate things, not to
Sure.
complicate it in any way.
Ariel, there was a question that came in already asking about the cloud. Once you sync with the cloud and have some reports and stuff uploading, how do you access those once they're in the cloud?
Okay, for accessing the cloud, you will have the ability to create on MSolution the website. You can access it. You can register to the cloud and open an account. On this account, you will be seeing your tester. There are a lot of features that you will be able, a lot of things that you will be able to do throughout the cloud. I don't want now to capture the time and provide more and more information, because this is something that we didn't release. But I can say this: you will be able to upgrade firmware. You will be able to upgrade to take control of the tester, activate the log files, see real-time performance of the installation of the wiring. Most of the information that we have here can be seen from the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And why it's important on companies that are using several teams of installers and integrator, and each one of them, for example, has this tester.
Mm-hmm.
You can from the headquarter assign, for example, a support group that can provide on-site and online support to the installer itself.
Nice.
Okay, so the approach is to be able to support him and provide a second level of support. That's the main idea behind the cloud. And this is why I think that we will have a separate session also to show exactly what are the features.
Sure.
But
I'm sure.
that's the main idea. That's
Yeah, I'm
the
sure
main idea behind the
sure
cloud.
people would love to see that. And I've just, out of my experience, this is really good news. It was already very, very easy to generate reports and things like that. You just would put a thumb drive into the MSTest Pro, and you would save whatever files you wanted. Maybe it's an EDID report or a performance or certification test. And you would take, from there, you take your thumb drive, put it into your PC, and then you could, from there, you could email your client all the different certification reports for each line in the system. So even easier now that eventually when we get to the point of using the cloud. So great job on that. That's very nice.
Yep, thank you. Additional thing that I want to show, this is a change. We've added a file system to the unit. Now you can see each one of the different interfaces that we have, each one of the different modules that we have. You can see its folder. You can access the folder, and you will see for example, I approach the HDBaseT certification. You can see here that I have 5 files. You can see the small cloud icon means that this file is already synchronized to the cloud. I can go, for example, for this one. I can see the information, and we will go through how to generate those files. We will see how to create it. I see information about the file, when it was generated, the location, and so on. I can just press the email. I will have an email address that I can enter. It will store the last email address that was entered in order to avoid every time typing again and again and again.
Sure.
Still, we need to remember that it's a small screen and it's not that comfortable to type it again. The moment that I press, I'm getting the information that the email is prepared and email sent. I can show you in my account that the email will be received in a few seconds. So this email was directly submitted from the tester. I think it saved a lot of time and effort in order to share the information. What I'm going to show in terms of certification, I think that most of you are familiar with the tester and you have seen it. There is a test running for about 10 seconds, running on the HDBaseT cable. At the end of the test, we will see if it's pass, fail, and the different information. If it's a pass, then no problem. If it's a fail, we will see it in red. Pressing the red label will lead you to the performance. Means that in an easy way, we direct you how to analyze the failure. Okay? Pressing the fail directly lead you. What we added in addition is an orange, okay? Orange marking of pass. What does it mean, orange marking? Orange marking means that the test pass, but there is not enough overhead before you will meet the failure location. Okay, it's still in the good area, but we recommend to test again and verify the installation. Verify, for example, the termination of the cable. So
Yes.
additional feature is the orange here, which is very, very important. If I press now the save, yeah, Jason.
I'm sorry, Ariel. I just wanted to point one thing out. The performance itself, we will, I think, see in a different menu. But what I like about it is it's a very simple window that you're looking at as far as which pairs are having problems and things like that. And one thing I want to point out too, guys, is that when we do get some support calls on the unit, people are saying, oh, the cable fails sometimes, but it passes sometimes. I do want to just reiterate one thing. If you guys are using the RJ45 Easy Ends, for this type of work for HDBaseT, I would completely avoid those. They cause a lot of problems in the field. I've taken these calls before. Our technical support team, they've taken these calls before too. So try to avoid those easy ends and just use regular RJ45 ends as much as you humanly possibly can.
I agree. I agree with every word that you said. Okay, so if we are continuing, what we are seeing here is the ability to provide information about the location of the test, like the customer name, the job site, the cable type that we're using, and the serial number. Most of the time when we will test those cable, they will go to a rack and we need to identify them. So we can put the serial number which is attached to the cable, and then we can put the operator name. The moment that I save it, we need to understand now we are not saving just the raw data, we are actually creating a PDF file. The moment that this one will end, I will get an option to download the file. And when I have this download, as you can see here, certification PDF saved, I can go to download. I'm directed directly to the folder of the certification to avoid going through the file menu and so on. And now I can see that I have those 9 file again. Okay, so I can create all of those. I can now submit it directly from within the tester, as I explained. If I would like to submit multiple files, again, I can press the select here. I can mark each one of them, and now I can email 3 files. Or if I didn't synchronize them, by the way, then now I can synchronize those 3 files directly to the cloud. So very, straightforward for the different user. You don't need to be skilled too much. The main idea, again, is to create a very simple way to test that will not consume a lot of time and a lot of effort. As I said, yeah, Jason.
Ariel, if I could just point out one thing, because I've noticed this. Can we go back to the previous page? One thing I do want to point out here is the cable length, because this kind of threw me off a little bit when I first was learning the tool. But I just want to point out, if the cable is less than 20 meters, it's going to show up as 20 meters on the cable length. Once you get past 20 meters, it will give you a more accurate idea of how long the cable is. And Ariel, correct me if I'm wrong, but the accuracy of the cable length is within about 5%, right? It's pretty close.
Yes,
yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, it will be 5%. And if you mention the cable length, I would like to mention also the pixel clock rate.
Oh,
it's
good,
very
yes.
important. It's very important when we're doing the certification to go with the, how to call it, the worst case, means to put HDBaseT on the edge. Putting it with a 4K Ultra HD will put it actually on the edge. It will initiate the pump 16, it will initiate the high bandwidth, and it will initiate everything. And then you will be able to see if the test is passing the 4K, then there is no problem. In some occasion, by the way, the requirements will be to be with a full HD. No problem with that. We can change the resolution of the tester using the pattern generator that I will go over it here. We can change the resolution to a full HD, and the test on the certification will run with the full HD. But
Oh,
in
great.
this case, we certify the link with a full HD. It doesn't matter, mean that with a 4K, it will be okay.
Okay.
So this is important, you know, to highlight it, because I've seen several times that people are doing the test, but they do not inject the HDMI signal. If they do not inject the HDMI signal, they get a 0 pixel clock here, and definitely it will be the lose situation, because they will not see the worst case. They don't
Sure.
put the cable into stress. So again, this is the certification, very simple, very straightforward. Now, for the second level of testing, we can go to the performance. What we are seeing now, this is live performance of the HDBaseT link that I have. We can see the threshold lines here. We can see the orange one and the red one. We can see the maximum level captured by each one of the twisted pairs, so that we know what is the maximum value that was reached. We can see the pixel clock and the cable length. Again, all of those are actually to put the cable on the worst case in order to verify it on the best way.
Sure.
We see the RX currently marked with an arc, meaning that this is the remote side. We can switch easily to the transmitter side. Again, this is the local one. An important thing that we have here is the ability to change to configuration. Configuration was available also on the previous UI, but now we improved it. What does it mean? You can see here all the different setups for the different features that are being supported by the HDBaseT. So if we are connecting the tester, for example, to any projector, you will be able to extract any projector that has an integrated HDBaseT line. You will be able to extract what it supports. If it's supporting the UART, and you can connect a transmitter that supports a UART, and you can manage the projector or not. If it's supporting an IR over the HDBaseT or not. So it's very important. And the most interesting part is you can see here the HDMI 5 volt and the HPD.
Nice.
We are actually able to detect if the source or the sync device, if the display which is attached to the extending over the RX or the TX is able to see or receive the HPD. For example, if you are connecting the receiver side to the display, you are sending a 5 volt and you are not getting the HPD. In this case, you will not get an image on the screen.
Sure.
Most of the time, it will be, you know, installers, integrator will say, okay, I have an HDBaseT problem, but it's not coming from the HDBaseT. If there is no HPD, there is no image. So very important, it goes to the source if we're talking about the TX side, and it goes the same for the receiver side with the sync interface, with the display interface. So
then,
we added those. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ariel, at the top, when you want to switch between RX and TX, you're just pressing in the upper left, right?
Yes.
Just toggling between the two.
Exactly.
Yes, good.
And on the right side, you're seeing also between data and configuration. Data show the performance over the link. Now, there is additional way. It's depend on how you want to look at it. We can change the look into this type of look of the performance. It's just for the convenience of the user. He can
Looks like a
select
speedometer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Showing
That's
the
nice.
performance again with the maximum and all the parameters which are needed. So this was the performance. It's almost the same as it was, but with a total different look and feel in terms of the user. Better way to understand and see the different between the twisted pairs.
Ariel, there was one question that came in on the performance tab as the test is running and looking at each pair. On the y-axis, on the left side, we'll look at the top one, for example. It starts off at 0.8, 0.6, and then 0.4. Then the bottom, we start at -20 and then down to -23. What exactly do those numbers mean?
Okay, this is actually on the bottom side, what we're seeing is the dB. This is actually the signal to noise ratio. Okay, this is the mean square error. It's reflecting, it's the equivalent for signal to noise ratio.
Okay.
On the max error, it's an absolute number, which is defined by the HDBaseT. It's specifically for the HDBaseT, saying how far is the pixel that I received, how far it is from the error level. Means that if I'm seeing all of those, assume that you have a specific amplitude that you are transmitting. This amplitude is divided by 16 layers of PAM16. You have 16. Now, you're getting a value which is laying in between the lines. So this actually tells you how far you are from a failure location in recovering the signal. Okay, and this is what you're seeing here with the thresholds. The lower that you will be, the better you have in terms of quality.
It looks like on the top one, we're well under the orange line, and red, of course, is failure. Orange is it's good, but be cautious, maybe re-terminate. But when you're under orange, you're good to go. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Good. Very nice.
This is what you would like to see.
Yes, and Rich, also too, of course, the x-axis down below, that's time. You'll see at the very end on the right, 30 seconds. So that's continuous time versus, as you said, the amplitude and signal to noise. That's okay. Good. If that answers your question, if you do have more questions on that, Rich, just feel free to follow up in the question box.
Okay. So additional very strong feature that we modified, okay, and modified and improved is the log analyzer. Log analyzer is actually a feature to support you in situation when you have a random failure happening on customer side, and and how to say it, you really don't know how to handle it. You really don't know how to capture it, because the moment that you are there, it doesn't happen. The moment that you go away, it starts. So the main idea again is to activate the tester and leave it on site. Leave it on site for up to 24 hours and capture all the information. The tester will be able to capture about 70 different parameters from each side of the HDBaseT link, from the transmitter and receiver. So it will support you. אלירן, אתה יוצא לי בדיוק באמצע. Okay, sorry for that.
That's okay.
A small interrupt.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
So the log analyzer provides you the ability to leave the tester on site. Here, by the way, the cloud is providing you a support, because from remote you will be able to see the tester and to see the functionality, and you are capturing the data all the time in order to analyze and to see what is causing the failure.
Good.
You can do it on a fixed duration that we provided here, 1 minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. This is in case you are on site. If you are leaving it, you can schedule the time of start and stop. Okay? On that time, the tester will automatically, it will block the different interfaces that you have. If you are connected from the web app, it will not block the cloud connection.
Okay.
It will block only local interfaces to the tester, like the web app or the touchscreen. it will tell you, listen, now I'm capturing the data, wait. If you would like to cancel it, no problem, you can cancel it. You can cancel the operation, but it's up to you to decide. The main idea, again, is to capture data over time, provide the log analysis. It's a very large CSV which is being created, and we provide as a support, we provide an analysis of these files. At the moment, it's free of charge. Means you
Oh,
can
that's great.
upload it. You can upload it to our website. Within 24 hours, you will get information about what is going on and recommendation. This was proving itself in many times.
Ariel,
Previous, yeah.
oh, I'm sorry. I just want to really make sure that people understand how powerful of a tool this is. When you run into these intermittent issues, I've been there myself. As Ariel said, you run this test for 24 hours. There's a whole bunch of data coming through there. You can upload that data straight to them, and they're going to be able to kind of decipher what's going on and maybe tell you exactly, or at least maybe give you an idea of what's going on with that link. That's a very powerful tool, and the fact that you guys are offering that service for free, that's excellent. And there was one question from Anthony. He asked if you had any kind of real world examples of what might cause some of these intermittent issues with HDBaseT. Do you have any examples that you can think of?
Yeah, a lot of things. Floor heating. We had a situation where the cables were routed next to electricity of
Oh, yeah.
floor heating. Okay, the moment that something like that happened, and you initiate it's like starting the operation of the floor in terms
Hmm.
of heating, then you have a big spike that happens, and this will fail the HDBaseT. Depend on the
Hmm.
cables, depend on the installation, a lot of things, and we can see it immediately on different counters and different error measurements that are available on the HDBaseT, but they are, I don't know how to say it, but there are 70 or more different registers on the HDBaseT that provide information about different failures. I do not expect that somebody will know that, only guys that are developing the HDBaseT. We
Sure.
provide as a support direction. We've seen also problems that happens because of different sources that are running for a long time. From time
Hmm.
to time, they have a glitch on the HDMI interface that drops from 4K to a full HD. And this can be, for a second, because it was having firmware update, or
Hmm.
a certain operation was done there, and you cannot capture that. You cannot capture that. You cannot
Sure.
see that. And with those log files, we can see exactly, we are catching those parameters, those different 70 parameters, twice or three times during 1 second. Okay. So if there is a glitch on the HDMI that we would recognize, we can tell you immediately, listen, there is a problem with the source. The
Hmm.
source is showing a 4K all the time. At a certain time, it's showing a full HD,
Hmm.
and we can point it to you. Or HPD problems we've seen from displays that are getting into a standby mode,
Hmm.
that the HPD is toggling. There are many real, real life
Sure.
things that we can detect that are very difficult to understand and to capture.
If
So yeah.
if I could just give one example that I've seen in the real world, there was a system. It was in a very nice large home, lots and lots of HDBaseT going to different rooms and things. And one thing that kept happening in the home gym, every time somebody would start up like maybe a treadmill or one of those very powerful exercise machines with a big electric motor, every time they would turn on the machine, the TV in that same room would flicker and drop signal and things like that. So that sounds to me like it's definitely a power issue. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Those are artifacts that are being captured by the HDBaseT,
Hmm.
and it's a matter of implementation. You can
Sure.
always improve in order to fix those things and to avoid those different failures.
Good.
So I pressed here the save operation on the log file. Okay, I started the log, I pressed the save. What we're seeing here, again, we can provide information about the site that the log was activated on, and we can press the save. Now I will have two CSV files. Okay, those are CSV files that are being created and captured on the tester. If I'll go to the download, I'm directly going to the log analyzer folder on the file system. I can you can see that those files that were created are already synchronized to the cloud, means I can see them over there. If I'll select the two, I can send it now by email, no problem with it. You see the email address is kept and so on. So
Sure.
very easy to share it, very easy to provide an analysis. It's a very, very strong tool in order to provide,
I love that. That's very
to
cool.
capture information. Additional thing that we improved is the HDMI generator. We have a 4K HDMI generator on the tester. We can provide, those are the fixed resolution that are commonly being used with different patterns. We have the advanced mode. We have a lot more of different resolution and different patterns, and we adding more over the time. No problem to approach us, by the way, and request additional different patterns that are required or different resolution. We can add them. Additional feature that we added is picture scaling. Many times you're using a picture on the different testers, and you would like to fit those images to the different patterns to the resolution of the screen. If you would like it to be a 4K, or you would like it to be a full HD, different size, different, and so on, we can now provide an identification of the display and fit the resolution to the one that we are sending. Means that it will fit accurately to the display and the screen that you're using. So this is a strong feature that we added now. And again, those changes, you need to understand many of those changes are coming from feedback that we are receiving from the field. We have a lot of, we are being in touch with different installers, integrators, in order to learn what they need, and we try to implement it for them on the tester.
That's great. And if I could just, I'm sorry, if I could just kind of reiterate something that you mentioned, and I want people to understand. They build these tools. It's much like Murideo. We build tools for your needs as an integrator and as an installer, anybody who needs to test, in this case, HDBaseT. So any feedback that you guys have, or any maybe requests that you have for certain features and functionality, let these guys know. They do their absolute best to accommodate you.
Definitely. That's the main target. The main target is to provide the solutions in order to support you. What do we have here? In addition, we have EDID analyzer, for example. We can extract information from the display, the supported resolution. We can save report of the EDID. The report are being generated with two different formats. One is a binary file, and the other one is a text. The main idea is to provide information in text after parsing the information for you, so that it will be a readable file and you can use it. The additional binary file is for you to take and do manipulation on the EDID. If you would like to record the EDID, you would like to limit the transmission to a specific resolution and so on, there are a lot of different tools, or let's say even extenders, that can do manipulation toward the display. So you can take it, you can download the binary file, you can load it to any EDID editor, modify whatever you need, and use this file. So again, EDID information. File system, I think that we went through it. Help menu provide you information, and all the user guides are actually inside the tester. You don't need to search for them in the network. you can just have the files on the tester itself.
That's
One
great.
thing that we're coming up with, and this will be on the next releases of the new firmware, is that on this screen you will have video guides on how to do different testing.
Yes.
If you don't remember how to use the certification, you will have a video that will tell you exactly how to do it, how to run the log analyzer, what to see in the performance. Everything will be with a video tour that you can activate on the tester itself also.
And
So very interesting.
Ariel, if I could just mention one thing, because I know somebody will ask if they haven't already. There's no speaker on the main unit. So if
Yeah.
you're going to watch these videos as they come in, you have to make sure that on the side of it here, there's a 3.5 millimeter connection for some headphones.
Yeah, exactly. I think that we've covered everything. What do we have on the top of the screen? Okay, there is an identifier of the modules that are being attached to the
Oh, good.
unit. If it's an HDBaseT, we will see soon the HDMI tester or the DC resistance tester. We see what is the module that is attached to the unit, the
Hmm.
cloud connectivity, if it's available or not. This is when you have the HDBaseT, you're seeing the link quality at the moment. You don't need to go to the HDBaseT performance in order to understand if it's a good one or a bad one. You can see here, this icon represents the link quality that you're testing, that you're about to test. Okay, so you have it here. This icon represents the connectivity of a wired LAN to the tester.
Sure.
The percentage of the battery and time. That's again very, very simple.
Sure. Sure. One question came in, and he asks, is there anything new with the DC resistance test?
Yeah, we will go to the DC resistance. With your permission, if we're done with the HDBaseT, I think we can jump to the DC resistance and present it, and then we
Yeah,
will go
sure.
through the HDMI.
Great,
Okay.
great. And again, as we're going through this, guys, don't be shy. Feel free to type those questions in.
Okay, so the DC resistance. DC resistance again, it's the same one that you are already familiar with, but we
Hmm.
improved it and provide a better way to look at it, more clear, more understood way, and we added the advanced mode. What does it mean, the advanced mode? You can see here that until the moment that I activated the advanced mode, we don't have real limits that are being represented. And why is that? The IEEE defines that the limits will be the IEEE definition for the PoE and the 802.BT structure is defining that the thresholds for category cable will be either 5% difference between the lines or 0.02 the maximum between the two. It means that we have here uh, a wide range of mistake that can happen. Okay, if we will take, for example, a category cable with a 28 ohm DC resistance, okay, on the twisted pair, I can assure you that this cable will not work for 100 meter with an
Sure.
HDBaseT. No matter what you are told, even if it will be a 70 meter, it will not work. So there are real thresholds that we need to apply, and those are not under the IEEE because the IEEE is directing for LAN
Hmm.
more than HDBaseT, even though the POH is under the IEEE for PoE implementation, still it's referring to HDBaseT and it's not covered with real limitations. So what did we add? We add the ability for you, the users, to define what you're using. Means, okay, I'm targeting the basic PoE implementation. I'm targeting a LAN implementation. If we're going to LAN, then we have the different PoE up to PoH implementation, selecting this one, which is a 15 watt. I'm targeting LAN implementation. The cable type will be a Cat6a, 24 gauge. That's the setting that I would like to get. Okay, so I save the information in the advance. The moment that I will activate it, surprisingly, I'm getting a real limitation for the twisted pairs, for the resistance expected on the twisted pair. Why it is important? It is important because it will affect also on LAN, and I'm talking on LAN, not HDBaseT. I'm talking on LAN, on TCP/IP. It will affect the amount of retransmission that you're getting. I can tell you that if you will pass on a DC resistance with a Cat6a that's supposed to support a 10 gig, you will pass the 12.5, definitely you will see an increasing amount of retransmission. The reason is very simple. The signal propagation throughout the cable, and it's not related to PoE, the signal propagation will be decreased over the length with the amplitude of the signal. So the remote side, one time it will be able to capture it, the other time it will see it as an error. So
Good.
very important parameter. And we took it specifically for HDBaseT, and you're seeing here that we already added the spec 3 of the HDBaseT, which is much more sensitive in this term.
Sure.
So if we take it to the PoE, to the HDBaseT, PoE implementation, same category cable, same setup, we are seeing that the limits are changed. The HDBaseT requires you to be much more tied with the DC resistance that you're seeing on the over the category cable. Above this one, I can tell you, you will start to see failures. Failures in pixel level, failures in frame, and maybe in some occasion you will see also a loss of image. You need to understand one thing. This limit is reflecting a limit over 100 meter.
Okay.
Means that if you will take a 50-meter cable, which the resistance will be almost close to this one, I can tell you it will work. It will work and it will be okay. If you will take the same cable with 100 meter, definitely you will see a high resistance and it will cause failure. The same threshold that we are providing here in order to understand the quality of the cable is going also to the peer-to-peer. Now we are providing a relimitation on the peer-to-peer and the difference between the twisted pairs. The reason is, once again, on different cables, you will see different length of the twisted pair. We're dealing on an HDBaseT, for example, we're dealing with an asymmetric link. When we're dealing with an asymmetric link, there are a lot of artifacts that are happening because of the differentiation on bandwidth between what is transmitted and what is no. So when you're placing the infrastructure, it's very, very important to understand what you're doing and how you're doing it and the quality of the cables that you're using. So this is the main change that we implemented on the DC resistance.
Good, good. And Ariel, another question came in. The question is, when testing the 3 categories top, so the DC resistance, the loop resistance, he says, I've always looked for green, meaning good, but there's some confusion on what the difference is and what you're actually testing between loop and parallel DC and pair-to-pair. So maybe we could just take a minute to explain each of those 3 and what you're looking for and what those are actually doing.
Okay, so actually what we're seeing, a loop resistance is we're taking the twisted pair and we're measuring the resistance going back and forth with the complete line of the twisted pair. Okay, this is the complete resistance of the twisted pair. The parallel one is taking the 2 wires in parallel. They are reflecting a different resistance that the wire is seeing. Why it's important? It's important when you're driving the signal, you have a return path that must go through the lines. Otherwise, you will not be able to transmit anything. Every electric circuit has one direction that goes with the current, and there is a return path. Otherwise, there is no a closed circuit to activate it. Parallel DC resistance, this is the reflection of the parallel twisted pairs reflected to the remote side. Very important to understand if it's a balanced one or not. Pair-to-pair is actually showing us the difference between the twisted pair. We are allowing, for example, if we're testing here, this is the difference between pair A and B inside the cable. It's wired 1 and 2 comparing to 3 and 6. And this is the difference that we are measuring at the moment, 0.02 ohms on the twisted pair. It's affecting the skew, it's affecting the time that it takes the propagation of the signal throughout the twisted pair, and so on. You need to remember you have 4 of those, and the receiver side must get all of the signals at the same time, and there is a small jittering or skew which is allowed, but it's very small. The bigger difference that you will see here means that the quality of the cable is lower, and it will affect the communication. If it's a LAN, you will get a retransmission. If it's HDBaseT, you will get loss of pixels, and so on. So this is actually reflecting the differentiation in between the twisted pairs.
Good, good. Hopefully that answers that question. If you have any follow-up to that, feel free to type into the question box.
Okay. So in terms of the UI, I think it's exactly the same, what you're seeing, all the different feature. Again, the file system, a very important thing. The file system is still available. This is a totally different tester, so we're seeing different folders with different information. I can, for example, download, let me see, one of the files, error. This is it's trying to download to the USB because this is the touchscreen. I need to switch to the web, and then I will be able to see. But again, you can email the reports, you can download the files from every different type of module that was attached. Any file, there is a file manager that you can use. The last one that I would like to go through is the HDMI cable tester. And in this case, I think that most of you are familiar. Exactly the same UI that we had. The pattern generator is still available. We have 2 different types of tests with the HDMI cable. I need to explain something. The HDMI way that we're testing the cable is going to the physical infrastructure. And why we have this approach? On different pattern tester, the one that are sending a pattern, receiving it on the remote side, comparing the bit exact, and so on. This is a very good one to understand the patterns, and there are no problem with the HDMI cables. But we are seeing a lot of cables that still, the structure of the cable will affect the behavior of the transmission. So what we are doing actually, we're checking the line. If I will run this test, again, about 10 seconds of test, will show us exactly the different bandwidths that will be supported by the particular HDMI cable that we're testing. The target is for 24/7 run and not for short run. When we have cables that need to display a 4K 60 all the time, then we need a certain quality of cable. When we would like to see a 2 hours movie with a 4K or 8K, then it's something else. And we need to separate between the two. Now, what are the results that we're seeing in this example? We're seeing that, for example, the 8K and the 4K 60 will not pass the 4K 444. The 4K 30 will pass okay. The 1080p, the full HD, will pass also. We're detecting that there are short wires on the cable. What does it mean, short wires? And this is a hazard. It means that, for example, we're seeing here 4 of the lines that goes inside the HDMI cable, which are the shield for the data transmission of the HDMI, are actually shorted to a line which is a GND inside the HDMI cable. It's not the shield. We know how to test the shield, and I will show it. It's not the shield. So those lines are actually shorted. In certain situations, it will be fine. But we need to understand GND, for example, the one that we are seeing here, is actually reference line for the DDC line. DDC line is the EDID that you are reading, or the HDCP, which is going. Any interference that might go throughout the video might affect this way or another with the GND level. Okay, GND, we would like to think of it as an absolute zero, but it's not a zero level. Not always, let's say it this way. So this structure, again, it's not according to the HDMI specification. The HDMI defined 19 lines separated for each one with different feature and so on. So this cable, we detected there is a short between the wires. The second test that we have is a sweep test. Sweep test will actually show us exactly the lines that are being shorted or the missing lines and what is going on. By the way, with the compatibility test, we can detect also a different things, which is not just short, it's short with missing wires. This means that, for example, some of the manufacturers, especially in the Far East, in order to save money when making the HDMI cable, they remove, for example, the shield.
Yes.
They remove the TMDS shields.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of copper. Think about it that you are reducing 4 lines of shields, 4 wires of shields. It's a lot of copper. It saves a lot of money. And what they're doing is that they are doing the short on the connector itself. They are shorting on the connector the TMDS shields to the GND. And if you will measure it with a basic tool, you will see that those lines are there, but they are not. Okay, so we know how to detect it. So we're seeing here the 19 wires of the HDMI cable. Each one is being tested separately. And we added also the cable shields. Very important part. The reason that we added the cable shields is that from time to time, we are seeing also cable. In this case, the shield is shorted to the GND. We are seeing missing CEC wire, for example, and we're seeing that those shields are also shorted to the cable shields. Okay, this is a big problem from my point of view, at least. Why it's a problem? Think about, we spoke about the engine that was starting to work next to the HDBaseT. Okay, you're seeing immediately an artifact that is being injected directly to the HDBaseT, and you are seeing failure, a video drop. In this case of HDMI, if you are getting those artifacts directly to the shield, yes, the shield will short it this way or another. It will protect, but at the same time, it will inject it directly to the data lines of the video. So actually what you're doing is that instead of providing a better shielding, you're actually injecting the noise directly to the data lines, and you will receive a video drop. You will see a problem. So this is very important to understand. This is what we are doing with the HDMI and how we test the HDMI. In order to generate a report, we're doing a combination of the 2 tests at the same time. Again, the test is quite short. It's about 10 seconds. It provides you information about if it's pass or fail and the bandwidth that we're supporting. You can see that the sweep test pass. You can see that we detected the shorted wires, and we can see the bandwidth that are supported by the specific cable. Pressing the save, again, we can provide information, and pressing the save will generate the PDF file directly, again, the PDF file on the system. We will be directed after it's being generated directly to the download folder for this specific file. And as I said, we select the file, we see the information, we see everything, we can email it, we can download it, and so on. So I think that I covered the main 3 different modules that are available. Additional one, if we have time, I can go briefly just to show it. It's the 2nd generation of the HDBaseT. The second generation is becoming more and more popular.
Sure.
What we are seeing it on the second generation, we have the same feature that we have on the first generation, but we are showing also the retransmission. We are showing the retransmission of the HDBaseT with the different levels that are supported by the HDBaseT. Again, for a 4K, and in this case, you're seeing that I don't have a video streaming throughout the line, so the retransmission level is very high and there is no problem to see it. So we're showing the retransmission. In addition, we added also the video bear on the HDMI, okay? Now we know to do analysis of the HDMI, which is being on the transmitter side received by the transmitter. For example, between the source device, the set-top box, and the transmitter of the HDBaseT, there is an HDMI cable. If there is a problem over there, we will be able to show you immediately the video bear over there. If there is a problem coming into the HDBaseT, definitely it will fail, by the way, the HDBaseT. And you might think that this is an HDBaseT issue of category cable routing, but it's not. It's coming from the HDMI. So on the second generation, we are able to identify that on the transmitter, and we are able to identify the bear which is running throughout to the display, again on the HDMI cable. So all of those are providing us a very flexible environment to understand the installation end to end, going from the source throughout the HDMI cable, HDBaseT, and providing information. Everything can be documented, which is very important in terms of the user for providing a warranty, for example, to the customer. You can tell him, listen, this is how I left the site, and this is the performance of what I've been doing. And based on that, if there is a failure 3 months, 6 months later on, we can compare. We can compare the results that we left the site, and we can compare it to the current results and start to do an analysis. What is the problem? It will help installers. Also, I can tell it very simple to charge the customer if it's a customer failure that was created over time by fixing the electricity inside the boardroom that start to get failure or things like that. It's a customer problem that was created over time, and it's not related to the installation. I think that up until today, it was very difficult to the different installers and integrator to provide sort of a warranty. If there was a problem, they were called back to the field to analyze it. And the customer never would like to, the customer is always right unless you can prove him that he's not. Unless you can prove it. And I think that this is providing the basic level to provide a warranty to the customers and to be, very straight with the customer, showing the differentiation.
Very good, very good. And there was another question that came in, actually something that caught my eye that we sort of glossed over, but I think is super important. If we could, Ariel, can we jump back into the HDMI tester?
Yeah.
Okay, so one question came in and said, it was asking about 4K 6444 for 18 gigabits per second, and we saw that that the tester is looking for that. But one thing I wanted to just really point out, guys, we're in a 48 gig world right now, and most people are transitioning right now in HDMI 2.1. And the fact that you guys are testing 8K 60, that's fantastic. That's a very important test that we're already dealing with now, and it's just going to get more important going into the future. But that was Himani. Himani, I hope that answers your question. If not, go ahead and send a follow-up question into the question box.
By the way, I can tell you that this was verified by a team that was installing the Australian broadcasting in the Olympic Games that were in Japan. And this tester testing those capabilities was actually proven to find a lot of failures that were not blame on the equipment, but more on the infrastructure side.
Sure.
Infrastructure, there is a variety of manufacturers, and not all of them are, on the category cables. How many CCS and CCA cables you are familiar with, which are coming from the Far East, which are copper-coated aluminum. You have a core of aluminum inside the wire, which is covered with a copper layer in order to show that it is good. So those wires, by the way, those category wires, those category cables, will be detected immediately, by the way, by seeing a very high resistance on the line. So network TCP/IP is much more flexible, let's say it in this way. It's much more flexible because it has the retransmission. You will see degradation on the performance, but you will achieve data at the end. But on HDBaseT, on video transmission, by the way, also on AV over IP,
oh, sure,
the systems are not that forgiving for retransmissions, and you would like to achieve as less as possible retransmission. By the way, part of the AV over IP module that we have is showing exactly the configuration of the network switch. Because we need to have the dedicated VLAN. We need to understand how many devices and nodes are on the specific AV network in order to avoid contentions and a lot of other things that will interfere with the smooth transmission of the video streaming. So when we are talking about the TCP/IP, it's okay. The moment that we are moving to AV over IP or to HDBaseT, things are becoming more complicated, and we need to pay attention to the small details. They are small, but they are very important.
And one more question came in about the about 3000. I remember seeing a demo of it at InfoComm 2020. It's actually the last time I was on an airplane, but that was very impressive. And I don't know if maybe you want to maybe just very briefly touch on how 3000 will affect the MSTest Pro.
Okay, so actually we are working currently on the 3000 on Spec 3. Let's not call it a 3000 because there are several different chip types in this family. Spec 3 of the HDBaseT is actually supporting 18 gig uncompressed throughout the category cable.
Sure.
We already support it on the tester. It's a firmware upgrade, but we need also the modules. There are specific modules for the HDBaseT Spec 3, which are not yet distributed, but it will be very, very short. I assume in 2 to 3 months, we will have those available and ready. This tester at the moment is fully compatible to support the Spec 3. No problem with that.
Great, great. And Ariel, man, lots of information, very, very good stuff. Again, guys, if you already have this tester, the interface and the firmware, it's going to allow you to do more things. I love the fact that we can email some of these reports straight to the project manager or maybe the customer directly. We've gone through the interface, we've looked at each menu and pointed out some of the new differences. Is there anything else that you wanted to show everybody? I think we covered it all.
I think we covered it all. We talked about Spec 1, Spec 2, DCR, HCT. The only thing that was not covered yet is the cloud. But again, this is a totally different session that we will do together in order to demonstrate it and to show exactly what we are providing. It will be a powerful tool. And I think that we have what to expect in the future in the same tester, with different modules, different capabilities.
Sure, sure. Well, Ariel, just one last time, just in case anybody missed the very beginning, how do people contact you guys to get this new firmware?
Again, the firmware is located on our website. You need to go to www.m4sol.com. Over there, you will see how you can upgrade, how you need to fill in some information about the tester and
Sure.
and about yourself, and you will get a link to download it. You have on the site also a simulator of the tester
I love that.
that you can try it. I can
Hmm.
tell you it's not up to date with all the different changes that we entered.
Sure.
We're ready to show it on Infocom. We will have a live demo in your booth at Infocom. Depend if we will join, if we will
Yeah.
allow to travel with these
Yeah.
crazy days.
I know.
It's
I
very
know.
difficult to predict, even
Sure.
though it's a month, from today. We still
Hmm.
don't know, but according to plan, yes, we will be there.
Okay.
That's the status now.
Great, great. And Ariel, I don't see any more questions. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for showing us all the new features and the new interface and whatnot. If anybody does want to watch this a little bit later, or you want to maybe pass this information along to coworkers or colleagues, I will have the replay of this session up on YouTube within about 24 hours of right now. And other than that, Ariel, I think that should be it for today.
So thank you for having me, Jason,
Of
and I'm really
course.
happy to demonstrate what we have done. I think it's a big change
Yes.
on what we had in the past,
Hmm.
and I think that the future is showing us more. We will
Good.
see more new features on the
Very
near
good.
future.
Very good. Very good. So guys, thank you so much for listening in. Ariel, we'll set up maybe another session once all the cloud stuff is worked out. And enjoy the rest of your evening. And we'll see you next time, Ariel.
Thank you. See
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye bye.